Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and today's guest is Leah Crescenzo, speaking on upgrading your inner child. Leah believes the places in life that are causing you the most difficulty are places of hidden treasure and freedom. She believes your issues can be used to bring you closer to your truest self, your happiest, most fulfilled, and totally free self. As a hypnotherapist and transformational coach, she works with individuals to feel empowered, balanced, and free by tapping into the transformative magic of the mind. Hi, Leah. Welcome to the show. So excited to have you on today.
Thanks, Laura. It's so good to be here.
So this is going to be an awesome episode that I'm really excited about because I've known you for a while now. You're a local practitioner in Hoboken and currently working out of my office, which I love. And you and I, when we first met, really connected on subconscious beliefs and then how there's all these amazing tools out there, including hypnotherapy, to help identify and shift any negative blocks in our subconscious mind. And this is such a juicy and important topic regarding fertility, pregnancy, birth, and motherhood. So I'm just excited to go down this rabbit hole today.
Yeah, as am I. And I really wish that, I had some of this information when I was pregnant with my daughter 12 years ago, because for me, seeing it like as a bird's eye view at this point, it's everything in getting pregnant, being healthy and, free of anxiety during your pregnancy, and then even becoming a parent and what you're passing down to your children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's huge. And I know in other episodes we've touched on subconscious beliefs and kind of when the subconscious mind is formed, the first 7 years of our life, and also conscious parenting with Dr. Shafali. We had a whole episode on that, but we're gonna go into more of this. And I think let's start from the beginning. You shared with me a really interesting story of one of your clients who is having some fertility challenges. Do you want to kind of delve into how subconscious beliefs can impact getting pregnant?
Yeah. So there was a woman that came to me that had been trying for about 6 to 8 months, I think it was, that she was trying, and she was like healthy. She was doing all the things like eating properly and exercising. And she just was completely stumped by the whole situation. And in talking to her, even in our initial conversation, it turned out that her mom had almost died when she was pregnant with her. So I've had clients go back to being in utero, like they're in a scene with me and they're saying like, it's dark, I don't know where I am, but I feel this and I feel this and I hear this. And it turns out they're in utero. And so they're picking up the energy and they're picking up even like the communication that's happening around them. So this woman was in her mom's womb when her mom almost died. And then, of course, her mom survived. The baby is born. And in her early years of childhood, this was a story that was relayed to her that, I almost died when when I was pregnant with you. So subconsciously, our brain's job, our mind's job is just to keep us safe. And so if in that early phase of her life, she heard that you could die when you're pregnant, your body, your mind is trying to keep you safe. So it's going to keep you from getting pregnant. Even though that's what you want the most, the mind's job is to keep you safe, priority, like number one.
Yeah, our nervous system is wired since cave people time to keep us safe, even if it's not really sometimes really accurate.
Yes, right? Absolutely. And emotion overruns logic every time. So you're right. It's like the nervous system is running the show, whereas logically you could be like, oh no, women are having babies all over the time. Every day, plenty of babies are being born. I'm fine. But emotionally, that's not the story that's being told.
Right. So, I think this is so important for people to hear about. I would say certainly learning about that story probably when she was a young girl was very impactful. But what about even a woman who perhaps even lost a sister or girlfriend, during pregnancy, even though they're no longer a child, how can that emotionally traumatic event impact their own life?
So do you mean if like one of their peers
Yes.
loses a child during?
No, dies.
Oh, actually dies. Well, traumas, when trauma happens, no matter what age you are. So, of course, like the formative traumas happen before the age of 7, but like at any age, you can have a trauma and it like hits the nervous system in such a strong way that we make a very foundational belief about something. And it's that belief that begins to run the show. And it can be just a very subtle whisper that we're not even aware of, but it becomes the blueprint. And so it's really a matter of like asking the right questions to find out what the belief is, where the fear set in, and shifting out of it. It's like really quite simple once you find what the belief is to reframe it. That's like a lot of the NLP stuff, like neurolinguistic programming. It's like reframing what the belief was, and then we can be free of that belief and experience a different
Mhm.
reality from it.
Oh, I love that. I mean, so it's very, to me, this is very empowering and very successful. If someone is feeling a lot of anxiety, sometimes they know, they can be aware, like, oh, I don't know, I just had this trauma happen. So it makes sense to me why I would feel anxious. But I've also met a lot of women that have anxiety that don't even know why, right? And I would say that's probably from those early years, possibly even in utero, because the energy of the mom is impacting the baby energetically and their nervous system, right? And so the nervous system is not feeling safe. And that's essentially what anxiety is a nervous system that doesn't feel safe. So if you have a woman that comes to you feeling anxiety, how do you help her identify really these subconscious beliefs that she's not even aware of or conscious of?
Yeah. So a lot of times, like these episodes of anxiety, like they become cumulative, and it's hard to pinpoint like when it first started. But there is a point when it first started, and so what we do in session is, well, first we get clear on like what the client, the woman, is feeling, and then what they want to feel. So, like at the end of the session, we want to like go towards creating like imagery and emotion of like how they want to feel, like what they want their lives to project as. But during the session, we go back to the root cause, and the subconscious mind is so powerful. Science is proving right now that it's 95, like at least 95. So it's like 95 to 99% of our reality is formed in our subconscious mind. So
That is so crazy. I had heard 90%, but that's even higher.
yeah, science is proving that. One man that I follow who is like he's like a PhD in whole brain learning. Like he says, if you look at your feet, if you look down at your feet and you make a circle around your feet, that's the space of your logical thinking conscious mind. And then 12 miles out from your circle of feet, that's your subconscious mind. That's how very vast it is, the subconscious mind. So, and we're not even aware of what's happening in the subconscious mind. So like every face you ever see in a crowd, every word that's ever spoken around you is cataloged in the subconscious mind. So in a session, when somebody doesn't know why they're experiencing anxiety, for instance, we just go into the like a deeper brainwave state, not even so much theta, like you don't have to be so deep into theta, but just like an alpha brainwave state, like a little bit more relaxed. And we prompt the subconscious mind to give it scenes that created the anxiety. So where did this form? And when you're just in the like heart center, the heart is actually the subconscious mind, whereas like the brain is the conscious mind. When we go into the heart center, the body, like we'll get information. So we're prompting the subconscious mind to provide to us where the anxiety started, and whatever comes up. And I have clients that even are like, as I'm prompting this, they're like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden it's like a download comes, like a picture comes, or like a story comes into mind. Everybody like sees things differently. So it's either they hear something, or they feel something, or they see something, and they share that with me. And we go to collect a few of these different scenes, and then we make a pattern of it. So it's like, okay, so these 3 scenes, there's a common thread between them. What is the belief? So it could be like, I'm not safe, or, I'm not safe in my body. I'm not safe in the world. With anxiety, I've seen that a lot. It's like they just don't feel that they're protected in the world, that like this force that brought them into the world can't protect them. And so it's really reframing that. And once it's like you turn the light on, and then you can't not know what's in the room. You turn the light on to darkness, and it's like, oh, I know that this is why I'm behaving this way. This is why I have this pattern. Once you know, you're acting from a different set point.
Right. I mean, that is the power there, is really just knowing. We Awareness is everything. We don't know what we don't know. So it's awesome. And I think it's important because I think, our ego also is trying to keep us safe, right? And it's easy to say, well, how does this have to do anything with my childhood, right? Like whatever you're going through, like whatever challenge or emotions coming up that you're not really wanting to feel, or whatever, it's like, what's going on here? And so it is important that our nervous system is just like a computer. It's just getting all this input, all this data, just absorbing like a sponge those first 7 years of our life. And then it's holding on to that information and it's operating. It's our operating system, right? Where you're like, you said 99% of our thoughts and decisions as an adult are coming from that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the mind's job really is just, it's always boiling down to three things. It's either trying to protect us, so keep us safe. It's trying to persecute us. So it's trying to live out what we decided long ago. So if you had sort of some sort of trauma, or you had, a mom or dad that didn't want you to be heard or seen, it's like, okay, like I'm not good enough to be seen, so I'm going to continue to persecute myself and keep myself really small, or to try to get us attention. So it has a job, and it's always boils down to one of these three things.
Wow.
Yes. So it's amazing.
And it's so basic, right? It's so
basic and brilliant.
Basic and brilliant. So, you have other stories regarding this. Like, for example, a woman, we both have seen this a lot in our practice, a woman who's had experienced a traumatic birth and then has a lot of fear. She'll get pregnant with baby number 2, but there's a lot of fear during the pregnancy about repeating that trauma. So when you have a woman coming to you with that, like, how do you support them?
So everything goes back. So every experience that you are going through as an adult, it does go back deeper than that. So a lot of times women think like, oh, this was a one-off. Like I had this first pregnancy and it was like this trauma that happened to me. And, that they think that that's where the starting point is, but actually it goes back a lot deeper. Again, it goes back to those early formative years. That's like, where was there a trauma that was similar? And everybody's story is different. I find it's funny because like I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'll be like, oh, this, I want to say like, oh, this sounds like, they believe that they weren't good enough or something. And it's never that. It's like everyone's story is so unique and their mind knows the core answer to it. So, sometimes it's that, they thought they were going to be protected by their healthcare provider, like, that they chose a healthcare provider to deliver this first baby and, things fell through the cracks and their birth plan wasn't recognized. And so how is that similar to your childhood? Digging a little deeper, like, okay, well, mom didn't, have my best interests at heart either, So then you make that belief as a child that the people who are supposed to care for me aren't doing what's right for me. And then, maybe that shows up with the healthcare provider. And that's just a for instance, it could just show up in different, with different masks on, really. So it's always going back
different
deeper.
stories.
Yeah.
And I think that is really important to recognize because a lot of us will just kind of focus on the trauma that we're conscious of, right? We're aware like, okay, this did happen to me. I know about it. It was fairly recent, maybe 2-3 years ago. And, it's easy to just look at that and still kind of not fully aware of how our subconscious beliefs are reading that story, right? Or viewing that story. And, I think that goes back to even like when people like, are like, these are the facts, this is the truth, right? But everyone has their own facts and their own truth based on their perspective. And the perspective, from what I'm hearing from you, is from our subconscious beliefs.
Yes, absolutely. And so So these uncomfortable events that come up in someone's life that they think is just like, oh, this is what happened to me and this is like what's happening right now. I believe that these things happen to bring us like even more power in our lives. So like something disempowering will happen to kind of open our eyes to say like, all right, like there's something deeper that needs to be resolved. Or else a lot of times, unfortunately, the pattern will continue. And so sometimes the pattern has to continue for somebody to open their eyes. But once you do and you resolve like what the core of the pattern is, like you're up leveling, you know, you're taking another step up in your reality and what's available to you. So it's a gift a lot of times, you know, like sometimes these most challenging events that we have in our lives end up being a gift because we become so much stronger from it and we have a new perspective from it. And, you know, we're freeing up more energy to bring in more good, like new and good, exciting things like manifest.
Right. Yeah, I would say, and that I'm so glad you brought that up. I would say all challenging, painful events in our life, whether it was as a child, adult, are all there to serve us, right? I think there is an ultimately there's that positive, which is so hard from those darkest, deepest pains, you know, physical or emotional and or emotional pain and trauma. How do we move through that? You know, when I've done work with Tony Robbins, I know he does a lot of NLP when he's working with people. And, you know, those are it's the same story. People who have the horrific childhoods and these really painful stories have persevered and overcome and are at like this like up level to the highest, right? Of just like, wow, look what this person can accomplish because they went through that pain, you know? It's really weird how that happens. If we're comfortable, then we don't tend to change, right?
So much, so true. So much growth comes from the discomfort when you have to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've experienced that, you know, it's just, we've all we've all experienced it. You can't get through life without pain.
Right. Right. And we all have different levels of pain, so to speak, but it's all there as an opportunity. And I think, especially if someone's listening right now and they are going through a really challenging time, and, you know, I think we can try to look for the blessing or the, you know, silver lining here of how this is such an opportunity to move on. And I think that's the other thing too. You mentioned this as well. If we continue to see the same pain and patterns repeating in our life, then it just shows that we're still working on, I guess, a specific root cause, right? The root cause has not been resolved because different events are occurring over and over. It's like the person that picks the same type of man in the relationship and, you know, pain. It's like, well, you're not really resolving why you're attracted to these painful relationships.
Yeah. And what happened for me in that circumstance is that the universe had to pull the rug out from underneath me to be like, open your eyes, you know? So it will keep presenting itself until a point where sometimes it's like, it can become something even larger than you'd want it to be. You know, so it's nicer to like take care of it when it's a small cut.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I think almost once again, most of us can relate to that when we're like, wow, what took me so long to like get out of that relationship or, you know, leave my job or, whatever, any like, break up with a friendship, whatever it may be that is just going on, as humans, we're moving away from pain and towards pleasure. And so once again, with the nervous system, so simple, we don't like the pain, but at least the pain is familiar and comfortable, right? And it has to be sometimes pretty intense to finally be like, I'm done, no more, that's it.
Yeah.
Hasta la vista.
Yes. And it's just, I think that it's just like so much quicker and less painful when you do it through the subconscious mind. And I always say to people, like people don't want to revisit traumas from their past. They rather just like, okay, I'm going to push forward. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to look to the future. But really, like, you're living with it regardless. So either we can go back, review the past, not relive it. Like, you've already lived it. You're just reviewing the past, reframing the past, And then you could let it go and move on, as opposed to like having it in your backpack this whole time. Like you're still
Yeah.
carrying it, whether you look at it or
Heavy.
not.
And you're right. It's such an energy drain. It's impacting your creativity, your flow, your ease, your femininity. All of this is way down when you're like this freaking, you know, Sherpa
Yeah.
going up the mountain with this really heavy load,
Yeah.
and you can lighten the load. So I think it would be great if you want to maybe walk us through what a typical session looks like with you. So if a woman's listening and she's like, "Oh, it'd be great for me to connect with Leah, to identify and address any limiting beliefs in my subconscious mind," I know they can work with you virtually. What would that session look like?
So initially I have, a conversation with somebody to make sure that, they understand where I'm coming from, so we can connect and they can share with me what they're experiencing. But then once the session begins, we talk about what they're experiencing, like I said earlier. So like how they're feeling right now, what are the symptoms that are coming up, and then what they want to feel in the long term. And then we go into session. So like the first 15, 20 minutes, we're talking about like what's presenting. And then I talk them into an induction, which is like a trance, which sounds scarier than what it is, because trance, like we're in a trance all of the time. And in fact, I've always said like we're more breaking the hypnosis than going into hypnosis, because, we're entranced by our phones, by the TV, when we're driving. Like I think most of our day is spent in this trance like state where we are downloading so much to our subconscious. So we're going into that state where you're in like a lower frequency brainwave state. And I prompt the subconscious mind, like I explained, to bring us to 3 scenes that have to do with whatever the presenting problem is. And no pressure, like I always just like, if nothing comes up, that's fine too, because we can go in different directions there. We can focus on energy. It's really like, I want this to be the most easeful situation for anybody that's coming. So we investigate like where the root of this issue that's presenting comes from. And then I have the client interpret it. So like, where did you see the common thread between these 3 scenes? So then it's flipping on a switch of their mind of like, oh yeah, like I never thought of it this way. And then we interrupt it. So, okay, like, do you want to feel that way? Like, what is the truth about you? Like, you are in control. You do have power. You are enough. You're smart enough. You're funny enough. You have all of the resources. Because also another thing is like, as a child, when these traumas happen, you are not as resourceful as you are right now. You are dependent upon the adults around you. And you don't know that you can look to find other information from other families, or, change the channel on the TV or the radio to find more uplifting things that are more in line with what you desire your life to look like. So you think, as a child, you're just definitely like less resourceful. Now you're a resourceful woman. You have all of these capabilities. You have so many strengths that you can come upon. So we're, interrupting that old story that had been playing out all this time. And then at the end of the session, I create a customized recording. It's 20 minutes long. And this is where we're installing new beliefs. So that's where like the information where I say, how do you want to feel? What do you want your life to look like? Like you're sharing a lot in the beginning of the session of like, I want to feel free. I want to feel confident. I want, a baby. I want a family. I'm using that information in the recording that I'm creating for you, but also during the session when you are, reinterpreting and interrupting those old beliefs, like you're saying more powerful things. I'm like collecting all of that information too to put into your recording. So it's all of your words. It's all the client's words that I'm interjecting into this customized recording that they're listening to a minimum of 21 days, and they're rewiring your subconscious mind by listening to this recording, because the mind works with repetition. So the more and more you're hearing like how strong you are and how powerful you are and how what you desire is your unique gift from the universe. Like not all of us come with the same desire to have the same family that, everybody has this individual like desire for their lives. And because it's their individual, it's specific to them. So it's available to them. It's been like, it's their blueprint given to them from the universe, if that makes sense. And so anyway, I'm creating this recording that they're listening to for a minimum of 21 days. That's rewiring their mind to see this, and it begins to outpicture in their lives.
It's so cool. I mean, even just thinking about how it's possible to rewire our minds, I think is so exciting, because it could feel frustrating, right? And I think if we're just trying to do it through our conscious mind, man, it's like, how? How do you make that type of change at such a deep level? It's really hard to do. That's where it's great working with some of these tools. So you mentioned hypnotherapy, NLP. I know EFT is another great one, Psych K. What other modalities out there are related to this?
Well, I think you could do a lot of belief change and emotional energy change through aromatherapy, through essential oils. I think Kundalini yoga is a really excellent one. Meditation. Yeah. I think it really is working with the mind and the brain. So even like the essential oils and EFT, all of that is like working with the brain, the mind. So I mean, for myself, like, I tried everything. Like, I was doing holistic nutrition, and I think all of this helps, like nutrition and yoga, it all absolutely helps. But once you start to like hone in on like what your beliefs are, that's where like you could see the greatest, quickest change. And we're not taught this, this isn't something that anyone talks about. It's like, you can go to the gym and exercise your body, but we're not exercising our mind. And that's what the recording is. It's like exercising your mind to see these other potentials for your life.
Mm-hmm. And I think also what I've seen in my own personal experience is when people are going through, let's say, PTSD or feeling depressed or anxious, whether they know why or not, kind of like mainstream, we are told to either go see a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist and take medication, right? And I can say with no doubt that the medication is not addressing the root cause here. But even psychotherapy, sometimes I feel like, depending on, I guess, what style you're doing, can be a little superficial. And so that's why, I don't know if you've had this experience too, where some people who are working with a psychotherapist still can benefit from a hypnotherapy session, for example, to dive really deep. And then they could continue to follow up with their psychotherapist to talk about what came up for them in the session.
Yeah, I've had plenty of women share with me that they've been in therapy, and that this one session they felt so much better after one single session that they had. One specific woman said 7 years. She was in therapy for 7 years, and she said, and I think therapy is absolutely beneficial. And I would never discount therapy, but she said that she just kept, repeating the same stories in therapy week after week. And then she came for one session, and she was able to let go of those stories, because we're upgrading that child. So we're going back to that version of us that had the trauma in childhood. Like, you could actually see the little girl or little boy and bring that child forward into our current life. Like, that child is, if we're talking inner child work, it's like that child is stuck back there thinking, disempowering thoughts, when we can go back and visualize that child and communicate to that child how absolutely wonderful and brilliant they are, and how they're meant to be here, and all of the things that they need to hear that, sometimes parents who didn't know better, like, everyone's just dealing with the consciousness that they're given, passed down. So it's no one's fault. But anyway, we're just upgrading that child to bring them into this present moment with the resources that we have. So that's where, like, working with the subconscious mind works. And, some therapies do inner child work. But I just find it to be like quicker, more powerful to work with it from a subconscious state.
Yeah. I mean, if you're just doing talk therapy, it's like you are just kind of very superficially telling these same stories, and you're like, this happened to me and this happened to me. And it's a lot of almost like victimhood and blame and shame. And it can be perpetuating, right? The beliefs, and not really, once again, addressing that there's something deeper here that you're not even able to articulate because you're not conscious of it. And that's where it's powerful to have that type of support from any mental health worker that you're working with.
Right. Yeah, because what we focus on expands. Like I always look at it as though, like, if you're on a path and you can go left or right, you could go towards the better feeling state, or thought, or you can go towards the lesser feeling thought. And we constantly, like, at every junction in our day, we have an opportunity to say, like, do I want to go towards the better feeling thought, or do I want to go towards the lesser feeling thought? I mean, as humans, it just happens that we can go towards a negative emotion. And so, and sometimes, like, if we're talking in therapy about the negative, it's like we're keeping going down this path of negative, and it just
We're manifesting more negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
exactly.
And actually, I wanted to also talk about the fact we're talking about positive and negative regarding emotions, but we could also say that, there are times when it's important to feel those painful emotions that we're calling negative. So maybe we can talk about, like when we are healing ourselves and doing that subconscious work, there can be tears and anger and all this that needs to come out of us, right? We need to emote and feel that pain again during the session in order to clear it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because what I'm calling, like, quote unquote negative, absolutely, it's like people want to shy away from something negative, but really it's just information. Just as, like, a scenario comes up where we feel like we're a victim, but it's information that, like, something deeper needs to be cleared out to look at. So in session, I always make sure my clients feel absolutely safe with me, that they can cry as much as they need to. They can curse. I had one man one time, like, punching in front of him, like a parent of his, because he was so angry at this parent, and it was so, like, in his physical body that he had to, like, move his body to be like, and he was cursing. And another release is, like, sighing or going to the bathroom, sweating, even, like, getting cold or getting hot. All of these things are signs of, like, emotional release. And so all of them should be, accepted. And even, like, I find, if somebody's crying, I'm like, okay, this is positive, because we're moving towards something. We're releasing something.
Yeah. I was at this event one time, and this woman was talking about cleaning out the garbage in our basements, right? It's essentially, that's what we're talking about. Like, those, things, all these feelings and thoughts, emotions are stored, they're stuck. And, we have to sweep them out. And, it's like, oh, people don't want to go there, right? They don't want to disturb it. They're like, oh, I'll just keep, like you said, looking forward, future, everything is fine. But it's like, no, there's still stuff there that we have to address and feel, even though it's painful. And that's going to be the quickest, fastest way to move it out of your basement and release that load.
Yeah, absolutely. Diving right into it.
Yeah.
And with hope, and with the intention to move past it. Like, intention is a big deal too. It's like intending to feel better and intending to have this life that you want.
So, I think that's also really cool about this type of work. I mean, we were relating it specifically to fertility, pregnancy, even birth, and, literally wiring your nervous system to create the type of birth that you're wanting to have by doing hypnotherapy during the pregnancy. I know that worked for me, and it was really powerful. But even if, like, a woman is experiencing postpartum depression, anxiety, or mood disorders, I'm assuming this work would be very powerful for her to kind of understand why she's feeling this way.
Yeah, it's always getting to the root cause of whatever is being experienced. And I know that like, we can say that it's like a hormonal fluctuation or something, but sometimes when our hormones are fluctuating, it just means, like at that time, like, the veil is thin to the traumas that we've experienced.
Yes.
So you're just extra sensitive to the traumas that have been experienced in the past, and things need to be processed and released.
That's exactly right. And as pregnant and new moms, we are extra sensitive. The hormonal shifts are just in line with the energetics that are occurring. And because you're literally calling a new soul into your body. So, I mean, this is pretty pretty big deal. so so I always tell women, even during their pregnancy, really you got to really protect yourself energetically. And that means you're not listening and watching the news. If you have friends or family that tend to be very negative and, pulling you down, you have to really limit your time around them or give them boundaries. And, especially if it's related to them sharing their negative birth story, now is not the time to listen to that. You are not their therapist, and it's not your job to bear that heavy load for them as well. So it's like the boundaries and protection are very important. And I think women do intuitively feel that because there's this, like, I have to protect my baby, right? But doing it from a very conscious place and, being like, okay, mom, I love you, but we can't talk on the phone every day. You have your boundaries and you articulate what those are, and you share, like, with these friends and family if they're bring it to their awareness about, essentially, I mean, how would you handle that? Like, if you're there, if it's somebody that you're like, I really, don't want to hear your negative story. How do you lightly handle that?
I think I love that you're like how you're bringing this up, and that you said it's like protecting the baby, because I want to talk a little bit about doing this work to protect the baby too, and to not be passing down like generational wounds to the child. But I think exactly what you're saying is like going into your own cocoon, going into your own little chrysalis of like, all right, I'm forming new life, and so I'm only allowing in like what serves me and what's like feeling the best for me. And of course that might make feel like might alienate people, but one way to also do it is to just make energetic boundaries so that you're setting your stage and your energetic boundaries. So, and that's like visualizing yourself as like this beam of beautiful, like crystalline light, like beautiful healing light. And then you're, creating almost like an orb around you of like, all right, this is where I'm staying in my positivity of the things that I truly believe. And I'm letting when anyone else wants to project onto me, it's going to like bounce off of my beautiful orb of light, so I think like it might sound so woo woo truly. And it did to me too when I was pregnant with my daughter, but it's real. Energy is real. And what we can visualize, we can create. And so just being conscious of the field that we're in, keeping this clear and allowing everyone else to kind of, because I'm sure we can't block everyone out during this time because we're also going to need them once the baby is born, takes the tribe. But I just wanted to touch on really quick too is doing this work for yourself, even to know that you can create healthy boundaries. Because I think sometimes we could tell ourselves a story that like, oh, well, if I'm going to stand up for myself and my child, I'm going to hurt so-and-so's feelings. I'm going to hurt mom's feelings if I'm going to say like, I can't talk to you. But really like this is another limiting belief that holds people back. And why not start when the baby is born? Because it's going to be forever that you're going to have people chiming in on how you should be raising your child and what's the best way. And so it's like getting clear on like the mom that you want to be and owning that.
Yeah, that's really the empowered motherhood, right? Where you're just making decisions based off your information, education, and very much your intuition of what feels right for you and your child, and holding true to that.
Yeah.
Despite what others are saying around you.
Yeah, and I think that could be difficult for some women because they're in a new situation with a new baby and they want to look to, the tribe to say like, how did you raise your child and what were you feeling and what can I expect? And I think that's all really, really valid. But there's also a matter of like connecting into your intuition and knowing what's best for you and your child. And then feeling strong enough and confident enough to be in that place.
Yeah, I think that's key because especially as women, I think a lot of us when we were girls, we were raised very much to not like hurt other feelings and almost like hold it in order to not speak up for ourselves, right? There's something to that. I certainly know that's something I've been working on my entire life is speaking up for myself. of just really like not even from a place of anger, but just or frustration. Ideally, it doesn't get to that point, but it's just more like you can still say, "This is what my needs are." To your spouse, your family, your friends, whatever, and that's that, and letting people know that this is the line you're drawing in the sand.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it feels uncomfortable, then going back to where it began, where did you originally feel that you didn't have a voice?
Mm-hmm.
Or your needs didn't matter. Your intuition wasn't important, wasn't at the forefront.
Right. Yeah, I think I need to do a session with you on that.
Yes. I mean, there's so many layers we all have, really.
It's like an onion.
Yeah, I just signed up for a session myself. We all need this work.
Yeah, we do. And I've been doing personal development for a while, and I always just find it so fascinating discovering these new layers of myself, because it's like, even let's say it's related to your mom issues, quote unquote. I've been working on my mom issues for years, even before I became a mother myself. And you're never really sometimes quite done, right? Like there's always something else. It's like, oh, I thought I worked on that, and I'm done. And it's like, oh, well, I did a lot of work around it, and I'm done with some things, but it's like, and there can be more things that come up, and man, it's awesome to just keep moving upward and
Yeah, because
onward.
what fun would life be if we didn't have the contrast of like what doesn't feel good and what does feel good? We've got to keep hitting these like plateaus of like, all right, well, now I'm having this new thing come up so that we know that, we can reach this next level of expansion and feeling brilliant in our beings, in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Well, Leah, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, I just feel that, like I had started with, just knowing, becoming a mom with the limiting beliefs that I had, I just felt that this work is so important to bring to our children, because we don't want to pass it down, and we want to be the best version of ourselves. So we don't, jump into anger or criticism of our children, and then we're just like consciously aware of like the parent that we're showing up, so that, every child's going to have their, like we said, like everybody has their pain points, and every child is going to have their pain points. Like we can't protect them. We can't put them in this bubble to expect that they're going to have this like perfect idealized life. But if we can, take our stuff off their plate, I think it's really important. I mean, that's been my experience personally. As much as I can upgrade my, confidence and self-esteem and ability to communicate the best I can with her, with my daughter, I think it's helpful for her. It's less of a burden for her.
It is. And that's really, ultimately what conscious parenting is doing all of this work on ourselves, for ourselves, because ultimately we're a much better parent and partner when we do.
Yeah. Yes. I love the work that you're doing. It's so wonderful. Thank you for having me on this talk.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful that Leah took the time to come on my show today and share really the power of addressing subconscious beliefs and how that impacts us as women, as partners, as mothers, and how empowering it can be to help identify those subconscious blocks from our early childhood and release them so that we can make different choices and actions going forward in our adult life. And it's a big part of what I believe as the Brayton birth method. I'm still looking for women that are interested in preparing for pregnancy in your holistic preconception period of your life. If you're interested in becoming part of a small, intimate community and receiving support and education on how to prepare for healthy pregnancy and conscious motherhood, please join my program. I'd love to have you. For more information, check out my website at drlaurabrayton.com.